Ronald Acuna Jr. returned to the Braves lineup on Wednesday night and delivered a mammoth blast that helped them survive a 3-2 win over the Colorado Rockies thanks to a great performance on the mound by Kyle Wright. We'll talk about Ronald Acuna Jr. and his knee. And we'll also talk about Kenley Jansen, who had another rough outing on Wednesday. We'll talk about his spot as the Braves closer. All of that on today's episode of Lockedon Braves. So let's get into it.
You are Locked On Braves, your daily Atlanta Braves podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, and welcome back to Locked On Braves, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your favorite Atlanta sports teams each and every day. I am your host, Jake Mastroianni. You can follow me on Twitter at shortstopball. Check out my bio there to see where I'm covering the game of baseball, including the Atlanta Braves in written form over at tomahawktake.com, where I am one of the co-editors over there. Also, make sure you follow the podcast on Twitter at LockedOn_Braves. Send in any questions, comments, or feedback that you have for the podcast. Subscribe to us on YouTube. And if you would, please hit that thumbs up button and that notification bell, as it does help support the show a ton when you do that. And thanks for making Locked On Braves your first listen every day. We post episodes daily, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, and are free and available on all platforms. Today's episode is brought to you by Vroom. With Vroom, you can buy a car entirely online and have it delivered straight to you, so you never have to go to a dealership ever again. So the next time you're ready to buy a car, just grab your phone, go to vroom.com, that's VROOM.com, and check out thousands of great cars. On today's podcast, we're recapping Wednesday's 3-2 win over the Colorado Rockies, talking about Kyle Wright's performance, and as well as Kenley Jansen, who gave up a couple more runs in this one. Then we'll move to the offensive side of things, where Austin Riley and Ronald Acuna Jr. provided all the offense with a couple of home runs, and then we'll set you up for Thursday's finale of this 3-game series with the Rockies. The Braves do get a win. They end their 3-game losing streak, just their second 3-game losing streak of the season. And it was a close one. It ended up being a little close late. We'll talk about that. Unfortunately, the Mets behind Jacob deGrom squeaked out a 2-1 win over the Los Angeles Dodgers. So the Braves unable to pick up a game on Wednesday. But like I said, at least able to end their own losing streak and pick up a 3-2 win over the Colorado Rockies to even up this 3-game series. And a lot of that was because of Kyle Wright and his continued great work on the mound and what he has done. His final line, 7 innings, 5 hits, 2 walks, no earned, and 6 strikeouts. Again, just another great performance from him. 96 pitches, 58 strikes. Would like to see that be a little bit better, but CB Buckner was behind the plate, and you can never really count on anything with CB Buckner behind the plate. He had just 8 swings and misses, so not a ton on 48 swings, not a high whiff rate there for Kyle Wright, but, getting a lot of weak contact. Had an 86.7 mile per hour average exit velocity against. Did give up 10 hard hit balls, which is a good amount, the same amount that Max Fried gave up the other night. And I did fail to mention Kyle Wright had 15 called strikes. So again, was throwing some strikes against CB Buckner behind the plate. One of the worst in the game, in my opinion. So anytime he's back there, it's kind of a crapshoot as far as what you're going to get in terms of a strike zone. Kyle Wright got a couple of big double plays in this game on some hard hit balls. He got 11 ground outs in total. And I thought he was really using that sinker well. Talked about this on the postcast with Grant McCauley. His curveball's his best pitch, and it was still a really good pitch for him on Wednesday. But I thought he did a great job going to that sinker in some big spots, getting some key ground outs, and that's a really good pitch for him. And the velocity was there, which is great to see. He had that one start where it was down, 2 miles per hour. So it's great to see that velocity really tick back up. But another great outing for him. He had 3 innings, but only 1 inning where he didn't allow a base runner. He got a couple of double plays in some of those innings. There was only 1 inning where he didn't have a base runner. So even though the performance was good, the numbers were good, I think you could say that Kyle Wright, probably could even be even better than what he was on Wednesday. And again, some of this partly control, partly maybe a little bit to do with CB Buckner behind the plate, but only 1 inning where he didn't have a base runner. But because of that sinker, because he's able to get some ground outs again, got some key double plays. It never really felt like anything was too stressful for Kyle Wright on Wednesday as he cruised through 7 scoreless innings. And he now has 17 wins on the year, most in the National League, and 3 away from 20. We talked about this the last time he pitched. Could he get to 20 wins? And now he's 3 away, and I think he could get 6 more starts. We'll see how things play out the rest of the way. If they start skipping some guys, giving some guys some rest, depending on what the division race looks like down the stretch. But there's an opportunity here for Kyle Wright to get 20 wins. I think that would be a very big deal. Braves haven't had a pitcher do it since Russ Ortiz in 2003. So, again, I think that would be a really big deal if Kyle Wright can get there. And, we keep talking about the postseason rotation right now and what that looks like. Obviously, Max Fried is at the top. Behind him, look, I think you could go with just about anybody right now. You could go with Spencer Strider, number 2 in your rotation, and I don't think anybody would, raise any questions about that. With the consistency of Kyle Wright and how good he's been, just consistently going out, giving you 6 or 7 innings of 2 earned or less, I think you could put him in the number 2 spot. And then I know Charlie Morton has had his ups and downs, but because of his strikeout potential and the dominance that he can have with that curveball, with the strikeout, I think you still have to consider him, a top of the rotation guy. It's just he has had the inconsistency where Kyle Wright hasn't. And that makes me a little nervous to put him up there in that rotation. But it's certainly a good problem to have as an Atlanta Braves fan. As for Brian Snitker, the manager, who you're going to go with after Max Fried. I think there's 3 really good choices, and something that I think is worth watching down the stretch is who earns that second and third spot in a postseason rotation, especially if you're going into a wild card series where, it's going to be a maximum of 3 games. How do you line that up? Who do you use in those outings? So I think that's something very key to watch down the stretch here, is which starter steps up the most to deserve that second, third spot in a postseason rotation. And then got to mention Kenley Jansen came on in the 9th inning of a 3-0 game to close things out. And I'm just going to be completely honest. I didn't think it was a very good performance. He got the save. He got away with a hanger to CJ Cron, who crushed it and almost hit it out of the ballpark, hit it to the warning track in left field. Then he got Iglesias to strike out for the second out of the inning. That was good. Some of those pitches, right around the strike zone. But then he walks Randall Grichuk. There were some calls again, CB Buckner behind the plate, some calls that maybe went against him in that one. But then he gave up a first pitch home run to Michael Toglia for a 2-run homer that all of a sudden made this stress-free game somewhat stressful in the 9th inning, as it was a 1-run ball game. He did get some help from CB Buckner on the last batter that he faced. He threw 2 pitches that I didn't really think were that close to being strikes that got called strikes after he fell behind 3-0 to Bouchard. He got a couple of calls that went his way and then got Bouchard to ground out on a ball, hit 106.4 miles per hour, but luckily only at a launch degree angle of 3. So it was a ground out to shortstop. But this outing from Kenley was not inspiring to me. I'm still not saying he should lose the closer's role or the closer's job, but he is just not there right now, at least with these past 2 outings. Nothing from what I saw on Wednesday really gives me good vibes after what we saw last Saturday. So still looking for Kenley to get on track. Brian Snitker was asked about it after the game. David O'Brien of The Athletic said, how much is a concern is Kenley Jansen? If it is a concern, and Snitker, who obviously is going to take up for his players, says, I'm not worried about him. He bounced back after a tough outing and got a save. Yeah, he did, but how much do you really trust him with a 1-run lead right now in the 9th inning? I'd say, trust level is certainly going down, so we need to see Kenley get back on track. All right, turn our attention to the offense next, where the Braves got a couple of key home runs and Ronald Acuna Jr. returned to the lineup. We'll discuss that next. Are you one of those people who thinks it's okay to drive stone? What's the worst that can happen? You end up driving below the speed limit. It's no big deal, right? Well, wrong. The truth is your reaction time slows way down when you're high. You not only put yourself in danger, but everyone around you. And talk about a buzzkill. Stop kidding yourself. It's not okay to drive high. If you've been using marijuana in any form, do not get behind the wheel. If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI. Message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. So it wasn't a outstanding performance by the offense on Wednesday, but they did enough. 3 runs, 5 hits, 4 walks, 10 strikeouts. They were out hit by the Rockies 6-5. Obviously, the Rockies got an extra at bat in the top of the 9th inning. Just 1 at bat with runner in scoring position. So not a lot of opportunities in this game. Just 4 runners left on base. Again, the 5 hits, 4 walks, just not a ton going on for the offense in this game. And still way too many strikeouts, in my opinion. They had been doing such a good job after that series in Citi Field where they kind of got embarrassed by the Mets of doing a better job of cutting down on the strikeouts and putting the ball in play. And we haven't seen that the past 3 or 4 games now. It's been back more to that, all or nothing type of approach. And the strikeouts, 10 plus a game have really come back. And you look at it in this game and yesterday's game too against Jose Urena, facing a guy in Feltner who had a K per 9 of 7.8 coming into this game, and he strikes out 7 batters over 5 2/3 innings. That's just way too much. They have to cut down on those strikeouts and do a better job of putting the ball in play. Grissom was the only Brave starter in this game who didn't have a strikeout. So to me, and I'm not trying to sound like the get off my lawn old school type of guy here, but you got to put the ball in play more. Strikeouts, especially, in certain spots, do you absolutely no good. And the Atlanta Braves this past, like I said, 3 or 4 games just haven't been doing a great job of that. What they've done a great job of all year and what they did on Wednesday is they hit home runs. And we know that. We know this is a powerful team, a powerful lineup, capable 1 through 9 of going deep at any point. And it's what makes this lineup so dangerous. And it's why they take those big swings. And it's why the strikeout numbers are so big. And it paid off on Wednesday as they got 2 home runs. Austin Riley hit a 2-run homer in the first inning to give the Braves an early 2-0 lead. It was his first home run since August 19th and just his third in the month of August. So he finished August with just 3 home runs after an absolutely incredible month of July. So hopefully we see Austin Riley get going, have a big month of September. If he does, then I think the Braves have a very good chance of coming back and winning the NL East if he can have another month like he did in July. And then Ronald Acuna Jr. returned to the lineup. Again, talked about this with Grant on the postcast. Anytime he's in there, even if he's 75%, I think it makes this lineup better just because of the things that he can do for you. So many different things he can do. He was in the DH spot on Wednesday. Again, that knee really bothering him, but it didn't bother him on 1 at bat, at least, as he hit a 444-foot home run to dead center field. He still has that type of power, that type of potential. I've talked about this throughout the year. The struggles for Ronald Acuna Jr., it's not necessarily hitting the ball hard. He continues to hit the ball extremely hard. It's the fact that he just hasn't been able to get that launch on the baseball, whether that's because of the knee and just the lack of trust he has in that knee. He just hasn't been able to get under the ball and drive it for power. And the power's there. It just hasn't been able to get under to drive it to drive it out of the ballpark. And we got to see that on Wednesday night. I thought he had some really good at bats. So glad to see him back in there. Hopefully, he can be in there just about every day. He did mention through his translator after the game, he's asked about the knee. How's it feeling? And he said, terrible, but we're going to play through it till the season is over. So certainly don't love to hear that. He was kind of laughing and smiling as he said it. Everybody this time of year is banged up a little bit and coming off a injury like that and trying to come back and play, and play at a high level. I can only imagine that it's still barking at him and bothering him a little bit. So, I'm sure he's feeling that and he's trying to play through it and do the best that he can to help his team out and win. And you got to respect that. But I think it's just something he's going to have to deal with the rest of this season and manage it and try to make sure that he's as fresh as he can be down the stretch for the Braves because they need him. This offense needs him. And we know he's not going to be 100%. But like I said, even a less than 100% Ronald Acuna Jr. is one of the best players in baseball. You look at it, what he's doing right now, and yeah, he's having, a down season by his metrics, but he's still, a 780 OPS guy. It's not like he's a below average player. So still doing good things for the Braves when he's out there. Unfortunately, just going to have to deal with this knee issue. Hopefully it can get better, get rest over the offseason, full offseason of just conditioning, and hopefully can come back stronger next year. But still, for this year, the Braves need Ronald Acuna Jr. in there in whatever form they can get him. So just going to have to battle through it, and hopefully that, he can still be a spark for this Braves lineup atop. All right, next we'll turn our attention to Thursday as the Braves look to try to win this series after a slow start, and hopefully the offense can get going. We'll talk about that next. Before I jump into Thursday's game, I wanted to just give a little bit of news update here. The Braves are likely to break their single season attendance record on Friday with over 2.6 million fans, or their single season attendance record at Truist Park. That's pretty awesome. I want to applaud, just all the fans out there. I know a lot of you been at games this year. I've been to several myself. It's not only just a great place to watch a ball game, but this team, a lot of fun to watch. I know they frustrate us at times, but love cheering for this team, love the players on it. And it's really been a blast seeing how the fans have responded this year after winning a World Series and coming out to the ballpark. I just love seeing that from Braves country. So I wanted to mention that. On Thursday, it'll be Chad Kuhl versus Spencer Strider. Chad Kuhl in his last 7 games, a 1-2 with a 9.39 ERA and a 2.02 WHIP, 30.2 innings pitched, 18 walks, just 23 strikeouts. He's given up 3 earned runs or more in each of his last 7 starts. Again, I feel like I've said this about every Rocky start of the series. It's a good opportunity for the Braves offense to break out. I feel like Chad Kuhl is the best of those opportunities. So hopefully we see the Braves offense come out and put up a big number and score a bunch of runs. Great to see them win 3-2, and they can win close games. I know they lost 3 in a row earlier this week and over the weekend, but this team's capable of doing what they did on Wednesday, going out, hitting a couple of home runs, and having a well-pitched game. They can certainly win in that manner, but would love for them to just score a bunch of runs on Thursday and win in that manner, because that would make me feel a lot better about this offense going into a weekend where they're going to face 3 really good starters from the Marlins. It's looking like they're going to face Sandy Alcantara, Edward Cabrera, and Pablo Lopez over the weekend. So hopefully this is a chance for the offense to really start picking things up, because they're going to need it over the weekend against the Marlins. As for Spencer Strider, just keep doing what he's been doing. I mean, he's been unbelievable. I talked about it. I think he could potentially be the second best starter in a postseason rotation for the Braves with how dominant he has been on the mound. His stuff is holding up. He's been able to get through a team a second time that they've seen him. He's been able to do so still primarily with those 2 pitches, the fastball and the slider, although I like that he's starting to incorporate that changeup a little bit more. And when he can throw it right where it's running away, down and away from left-handed hitters, I think it's a very effective pitch against left-handed hitters. So I just love watching Spencer Strider pitch. I think it's, must-see TV when he's out there. And so I'm looking forward to enjoying that on Thursday night, and hopefully a much bigger and easier win for the Atlanta Braves. I think Wednesday was mostly pretty stress-free until that 9th inning, but would like to see the Braves put up a bunch of runs early, kind of put this one away. Spencer Strider do his thing, get him out of there, get him another solid performance and a good win, and get another series win. And hopefully the Dodgers can help out the Braves and take down the Mets on Thursday as well and pick up a game in the NL East. That will do it for this episode. Thanks for listening to Lock On Braves. Thank you for making us your first listen of each and every day. Now go make your second listen, Locked On MLB podcast, where MLB expert Paul Francis Sullivan brings humor, passion, and a unique perspective on every team as he talks about the biggest stories from around the league. Again, thanks for listening. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at LockedOn_Braves. You can follow me at ShortstopBall. Also, make sure that you rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcast, and we'll talk to you next time.